Hi there, everyone. Just some ordinary dude here, and today I am joined by Alejindio slash AlejinZX. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And this is another edition of Discussions with the Dude. And today we're going to talk about quite an interesting topic. So the Loud House has been out for 8 seasons now, about to start its ninth, and as a result, there are a lot of characters in this show. It's introduced probably hundreds of them at this point, maybe even thousands, I'm not sure, but a lot of characters. Um, Problem is, not all of them have been utilised to their greatest potential. Many of them were just introduced one time and kind of forgotten about again, or just rendered as a background character, when a lot more could have been done with them. And we're going to elaborate on some particularly noteworthy examples in this podcast. So I suppose one thing worth pointing out is that this is a very good podcast topic to discuss with you, Alejindio. Particularly because I know you and the Amazing Peanuts do quite a lot of work where you focus on the reflection of various side characters and how they've sort of been forgotten about by the show or underused and everything. There's plenty of them, I think. So I might let you start this one. In your opinion, who are some of the characters that have been introduced at one point that are the most underutilized, the most wasted?
Well, I believe many people already know which ones I'm thinking right now.
Yeah.
Of course, when you talk about, the Loud House wasted characters, we have to start, with Tabby, Giggles, and
Polly
Polly,
Payne. Yeah, they were three
Polly
of the
Payne.
four girlfriends introduced in Dance Dance Resolution all the way back in season one. Now, obviously, the fourth of those girls was Haiku, who would go on to be quite a prominent recurring character in the series. But the other three girls didn't. They were just sort of forgotten about, and I think there was a reason for that, actually. I think they were just sort of replaced. And I have a little bit of a theory as to why. Now, obviously, Lincoln and Clyde, they're two of the main characters of the show, but one criticism that's always been surrounding the Clinton McLeod duo is the fact that they're too similar. A lot of people don't find their dynamic that interesting because they're very similar characters. And I think with the likes of Tabby, Giggles, and Polly Payne, you could make that same comparison. Tabby is just a younger carbon copy of Luna when you think about it. Giggles is Luann in a clown outfit, and Polly Payne is Lynn, but wearing pink and roller skates. Is that a fair comparison, I suppose?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're practically, like his sisters, right?
Yeah, I think that was the joke of the episode, but it's almost like maybe they thought, okay, with the sisters, when we develop their friend groups, we want to give them sort of foils. We want to give them friends who are similar in some ways, but also different. And I think that's what they went for. So, like with Luna, they effectively replaced Tabby with, well, the Moon Goats, but particularly Sam, her closest friend and romantic partner. And obviously, Sam, despite sharing Luna's interest in rock music, also has plenty of different interests and personality traits that Luna doesn't share with her. Like episodes like Racing Heart went a great way to point that out and show Sam is her own character. And maybe that's the thing they were trying to do. Say, look, don't just give the Loud sisters carbon copies of themselves as friends, because that's we've already done that with Lincoln and Clyde, and it didn't. Let's face it, it didn't particularly work. That's why they gave Lincoln a bigger friend group later on, and I think that's maybe why they kind of got rid of those girls from Dance Dance Resolution and replaced them with. They replaced Tabby with Sam. They replaced Polly Payne with, well, Margot mainly, and they replaced what was the one, Giggles with, well, Luann's theatre club, but particularly Benny. And then when you think about it, it's the same thing with those. Like the theatre club characters all have their own distinct personalities to a point. And Benny in particular, again, he's a love interest as well as a friend. But again, he's a different character from Luann. He differs enough to, have a more interesting dynamic with her because they're not just the same person. They have contrasting interests and traits and things like that. And same with Margot and Lynn. Margot is similar to Lynn, but she's not exactly the same. She's a little less hot-headed, a little less egotistical and competitive, a little more feminine maybe. And I think maybe that's why they replaced those girls from Dance Dance Resolution. I'm not saying that's necessarily the right idea. They could have brought them back and expanded on them, but maybe that's the thought process they had. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I mean, even yeah, I can understand the. I mean, with Giggles and Tabby, with yeah, but with Polly Payne, I really never understand why she doesn't even are right now in in Lynn's gang,
Yeah,
because you have seen Link old gang. It's not Margot. Is
yeah.
there what is the name
Maddie,
of that little girl?
Paula,
Yeah, yeah,
Carla,
yeah.
Lainey. There's a few of
What?
them. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Why Polly Payne isn't there?
I mean,
I
I
mean,
don't know. I think the show, particularly in its earlier seasons, did have a very loose grip on continuity. And that's something we're going to cover a lot in this video. Just by the way, everyone listening to this, but I think they just sort of in the early seasons, especially they'd write in a character, they'd use them once, and then kind of forget about them after that, and that happened a lot. Let's face it.
yeah, that's true.
I mean,
Well,
yeah.
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
you
No,
carry on.
no, 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 no. Go on, go on.
I mean, what I was going to say, this is sort of leads us to my next point, and you could argue this is one of the biggest examples. And I'm just going to, before I go into this, I'm going to ask you a question, Alejindio. Are you
Okay.
familiar with the amazing world of Gumball? And this is relevant.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you
I
remember
can say
season
I.
one, Rachel Wilson? Do you
Of
remember
course.
that character?
Again.
Do you remember the character Rachel Wilson, Tobias' sister from season one?
Yeah, yeah. Of course. Yeah, I remember.
And who in the Loud House is just like her?
Hmm.
Think the episode
Hmm.
Back in Black. Think Lucy Loud.
Yeah.
Rocky
Yeah.
Spokes.
Yeah.
Rocky Spokes was introduced in an early episode to be a potential love interest to one of the main characters. He's a relative of one of the friends of the main family members. And
Of course.
that friend, Rusty, and his dad, the whole family, have started appearing more and more. The seasons have gone on, and yet there's no mention, no sight of Rocky Spokes whatsoever, as if he never existed. That's exactly the same as Rachel Wilson never appearing again after season one of Gumball, despite Tobias and his family getting more and more prominent appearances as that series went on. It's the exact same thing. She was also introduced as a love interest to Darwin potentially, but that never went anywhere. Darwin ended up with Carrie instead. But yeah, Rocky is the same thing as Rachel Wilson. I can only assume that maybe Rachel wasn't liked by the writers in that show. Maybe Rocky wasn't liked by the writers in this one. I don't know. It's kind of a shame because there was a lot of potential for that character. But yeah, that's why we're
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, but I mean, at least Rachel appeared a couple of more times, at least as a background character, right? But
Briefly in
again,
season one, but then I think she was forgotten out completely as of season two and onward.
I just remember about Rachel.
Yeah.
The second time I remember her is when they were about to buy a ticket,
Yeah, there
and she.
was. I know she had a couple of cameos outside of that episode,
Yeah.
but the point is, they did
Uh-huh.
basically forget about her after that. They didn't really do anything with her again, despite the fact that you'd think she would appear because Tobias and his family showed up more and more. But then again, that show did have a concept called the Void, and you almost have to wonder, did they throw Rachel in the Void at some point? That's
Yeah, that's so true.
probably
Yeah, I
true.
always hate. I always hated about that. I mean, I guess it was very obvious that Rocky was gonna be the next one,
Yeah.
because yeah, I mean, and the show didn't even, I mean, justify that. I mean, they could say, I don't know, he's living with Rusty's mom. She got divorced and he's living with her. I don't know, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. That is a theory. That's a fan theory that people have. Maybe because we do see a lot of Rusty's dad, but we never see his mother. So either the mother tragically died, or maybe there was a divorce, and Rusty went with his dad, and Rocky went with the mother, and maybe that's what happened. That would make more sense. Um, but that's just a fan theory. There's nothing like prove that. The truth probably is the writers just decided to forget about Rocky. In fact, you remember a few episodes after that, in Ellie's for Love from the very same season, they give Lucy another love interest, Silas, who's from out of nowhere. And it's like, we just had Lucy and Rocky 5 minutes ago, and now she's crushing on this new goth kid. What?
Yeah, you know what remind me that I know she's not a forgotten character, but I will say that about for Gear Jordan. You know what? Because I really remember that I think it was one episode or two episodes before they introduced Stella that Gear Jordan actually got a role in the gang, and
Yeah,
I really thought, wow, now Gear Jordan is going to be part of the gang. What happens 2 episodes later? Stella came. I said,
I
what?
think I suppose with that because it was like a very brief interaction, and Girl Jordan was sort of characterized as one of like the more popular girls in school. Lincoln and his friend group are sort of like borderline outcasts. They're not really known as the cool kids, if that makes sense. And maybe Girl Jordan was considered a bit too high on the social status chain, if that makes sense. So they thought we need a girl who's a bit geeky, a bit more tomboyish, a bit more like Lincoln and his friends to the point where she would realistically, and she's new, so she doesn't have a big clique of her own to hang out with anyway. So it would make more sense for them to introduce this other character who could be part of their gang, and maybe that's what their thought process because they thought, well, Jordan already has like Molly and some of the other girls, and she later get who is it? Another girl called Rachel, oddly enough, in season 5 onwards. But yeah, but I guess that's why they probably thought Girl Jordan is a friendly enough character, but she's not like she's on amicable terms with Lincoln's group, but she's not like part of their clique, if that makes sense. Maybe that's they thought just introduce a new female character. I'm guessing that's what they did. Why they did it?
Yeah, I mean, Stella, at least for me, she's always been, a interesting case because, she, as far as I know, she wasn't even going to be a tomboy, because, for her pierce appearance with the bow and all. And I say, why they
Oh
changed
yeah,
her so
there was
much?
white hair, wasn't there? But you don't really see her, to be honest. It's sort of like you see like a little. That's obviously something they forgot about again. Again, like I say, in the earlier seasons, there wasn't a strong grip on continuity. We all know that. They obviously thought. I mean, in Stella's first appearance, if we're going to count white hair, she was going to be a love interest for Lincoln, probably. Like he actually fancied her, and then B Stella My Heart did sort of continue this by having all of them have a crush on her, but then obviously they settled for friends and they sort of moved on from there. Um, but yeah, I think the writers almost want you to forget about white hair and the fact that it ever happened. If I'm honest,
Yeah.
yeah, I think they just say yeah.
And and now we have a Ronian 2.0, right?
Oh, what Kara?
Yeah.
I mean, she's not exactly the same. I can sort of see a few similarities. I mean, I don't. I think she's a sort of composite character. She has elements of the earlier seasons, Ronnie Ann, elements of Stella, elements of Lincoln, elements of Lynn, elements of Luann. She's sort of a character, bits of other characters mixed together. I think is the best way of defining Kara. She's not particularly defined as a tough girl per se, but she does have an athletic side to her. She has a geeky side to her. She is a bit, I guess, sarky and surly in the way that Ronnie Ann used to be in the way how she talked sometimes. But I don't think it's exactly the same. She is her own character to a point. I guess we'll see how they handle her in the later episodes and how she interacts with them on a more normal basis now that she's going to be part of the main gang. It'll be interesting if, like, maybe for once, because maybe she's probably a little bit physically tougher than the rest of the group. Maybe when next time Chandler and Trent come along and antagonize them, maybe she doesn't take their shit and really gets up in their face or something. I don't know. Or
That would be
maybe,
interesting.
yeah. Although to be honest, I'd really like if they had Lynn do that. They really should have had Lynn beat Chandler up by now. But there you go. They won't. They don't know what they're doing with her. But
They That's been since third season, I guess.
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a whole. I could make a whole other
and
video
and
about all this.
and
But yeah,
and now we finally. I mean, I'm and now we finally see Link. Well, that's I guess that's for another character.
yeah.
How I don't know the name. The Link's crush,
Lynn's
not
crush,
Francisco.
Henrik.
The Henrik. Yeah,
Henrik, the one
I
from the
I mean
recent Swiss episodes. Yeah,
correct. I mean, you finally get Link to get a crush,
yeah.
and surprise. It's a character you are never going to see again,
Well,
right?
no, he will appear in season 9.
Probably,
Though
but
there is actually there are leaked synopses of season 9. There is an episode. Let me just get it up where he is. I think it's about to come out. I think it's called Merry Dismas actually. But there is
oh,
actually an episode that's even had its title card leaked, and I'll send you a clip of it after we finish this. But I'm sure it's called Merry Dismas. It's one of the first episodes of season 9. It's going to come out any time, and Henrik is going to come to visit. And there's even a leaked like title card saying it was. I think it was written by Andrew Brooks. It might have been, and it will have Lynn, Lucy, Lola, Henrik, Flip, Margot, Paula, all in it. So
oh,
there is evidence to say he will come back at least once more, probably more times than that.
oh, that's good. And not another page, you know.
Yeah. So that's not necessarily the case. And while we're talking about characters that they could have done more with, there are a few other examples I think we could bring up. A couple of close friends of mine in the fandom asked me to mention Melly Ramos from Community Disturbis. She's a character they could have
Yeah.
done more with. Obviously, she was introduced. Then I suppose it makes sense she wouldn't be part of Lola's friend group because the whole point of that episode was that she would find her own friends because she didn't necessarily want to do everything Lola wanted to do. But I guess they could have still found a way to include her than having her just be a background character. Um, I guess they could have found a way to compromise somewhere in that. But I guess it makes sense she's not one of Lola's main friends per se. But they could have found something to do with her, admittedly.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, at least I don't know. Maybe in gym class they could show her more,
yeah,
give her a pair of lines, you know.
yeah. And then obviously with Lola, you've got plenty of other characters you could have done more with. Cricket Van Doren, China, Jackie, and what's the other one? Claudette. You could have done quite a bit with those girls as well. Lindsay Sweetwater, another one. Again, all characters that have been introduced, but the show doesn't really do much of anything with them. They might show up from time to time, but it's not. The show's not really done a lot with them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I know I'm mentioning her again, but I don't know if I said that in our last podcast. But what again with Tavi? Remember that episode where Luna needs a replacement?
Yeah,
And
and then you would think they would actually bring that up then. But again, I think I think the writers, a lot of the writers now are different from the ones back then. I think they've just forgotten about a lot of that stuff that didn't stick. And they obviously introduced Nina instead, and she's a cool character as well. But
I
although
know I like her.
she might not show up again. So who knows? Um, yeah,
I really like her, but I think that was a perfect opportunity to bring Tabby back. You know,
probably. Yeah,
it's been some time. Maybe she's right now a lot better guitar. I mean,
yeah. Maybe
guitarist.
she's still too. Maybe they feel like they need a teenager and not a preteen. Maybe they think she's too young to be part of the band. I don't know. Because Nina's probably looking at her probably what a year younger than Luna, maybe about Luann's age, whereas Tabby's what probably Lincoln's age, and they probably feel like maybe that's too young. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
One question for the next character, I need to ask you something. Do you consider the first movie canon?
well, I suppose it is. I mean, there's nothing to suggest it isn't. I mean, the second movie is definitely canon, so why not the first one?
Oh, yeah, the second movie. I mean, because they continue with the Myrtle being a spy and all, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
because and obviously there was even an episode after in season 8 which directly follows off the events of the film where they go to England and everything in the Europe road trip arc. So, No Time to Spy is definitely canon, but I don't see why the first
yeah.
one wouldn't be. It is an official part of the franchise, so why wouldn't it be canon? Yeah,
Well, I mean, I guess that's something
I mean, the
for
reason it
I don't
doesn't
know.
really show up in the show is
Quote unquote.
because it all took place in Scotland. So, there wouldn't be
Yeah,
any reason for it, like Angus or Morag, particularly, to show up just every now and then. Although is a way you could bring Morag back into it, and I think you know what the idea is, don't you? If you followed my content, Alejindio, which I'm sure you have.
yeah, I know. I mean, when I saw the first movie, I thought, oh my God, they marry
Yeah,
between family. You know why
maybe.
I say that,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, with
Okay,
figures
no, no,
with
no.
yeah, the figures with Morag. I mean, I don't. Do
Yeah,
you watch Doctor Who much?
again, again.
Have you ever watched Doctor Who?
No, I
Right,
haven't.
well, here's the thing. Angus and Morag are both former Doctor Who actors. David Tennant voices Angus and Michelle Gomez voices Morag. David Tennant was obviously the 10th Doctor in Doctor Who, and Michelle Gomez was a female incarnation of the Master, his archenemy. So it's kind of like, for Doctor Who fans, it's kind of like a treat seeing the first Lighthouse movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I understand. But look, why I asked you if you consider the movie canon.
Yeah, I'd
By my
say,
part,
yeah.
by my part, I really don't because some stuff happened there that I say that doesn't make any sense. But why did I ask you that? Because for more characters, I say who was Scott. I think that was the name of Lenny's
Oh yeah,
crush.
yeah. The crush that she had in the first movie. But again, Lenny had a few crushes before Gavin. She had what's the
Yeah.
fat guy, Chaz or whatever his name was. She had maybe some other. Yeah, she had a couple of other guys before Gavin, but he's the one that they stuck with. Um, so yeah,
I mean, I think they could do more if the movie's canon. They could do more with him in the series, you know.
what they
But
could bring
no,
him
I
back, and
mean
maybe there's a love triangle, a bit of a rivalry between him and Gavin, maybe.
yeah, because I mean, Lynn is exactly the same case. A guy from another country, and
Yeah,
and the
and
other one
yeah,
will be back. But
yeah, Henrik's coming back, but there's no evidence to suggest that Scott will. But I suppose they could do it. I don't see why not. You could bring Scott back and say, Lenny, I thought we were a thing. And then it turns out she's with another guy, and he's really angry, and then there's some sort of rivalry. I don't, maybe they could do an episode like that. I'm not sure.
oh, oh my God, you you are giving so much credit to the writers right now.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not saying it. I don't expect it to happen. I'm just saying it theoretically could.
Yeah, I know. I love to see
Look,
that.
I mean, look, the writers are very good. The only real issue I have is that they don't necessarily have the best creative direction for the show. But I think that's as much of the fault of the fans as anything else for driving them away so much. They are talented writers. It's just they need to get a better understanding of what we actually want to see. And I think topics like this kind of prove that. Because here's the thing, there's all these characters we're talking about, and we're not even listed them all yet. And yet they seem to cram Flip and Scoots into every goddamn episode these days. I swear, there is so much
Yeah,
Flip and Scoots. And I'm like, just give these characters a rest. They're better in small doses. They're okay. Seriously, put them on the back burner for a bit, and give these other characters a bit more time to shine, and do a bit more of the main Loud family, of course. You know, but
yeah.
yeah.
Even in No Times to Spy. Oh, come on, really? Another flip in another country?
Yeah, I was a bit worried when they did that because I was like, with the European road trip arc coming at the time, I was thinking they're not on the Euro trip arc. They're not going to run into a different incarnation of Flip in every single country, are they? I thought they were actually going to do
Yeah,
that. Think
I
about it. I
mean,
think the road trip episodes were the only episodes of season 8 where Flip doesn't appear. I swear he appears in every other episode of season 8. It's ridiculous.
yeah. Maybe
It's
I don't
like,
know. Maybe they really love the voice actor very much.
yeah, John DiMaggio, other than maybe Grey Griffin, is the highest status voice actor in the cast. I'm assuming there's some sort of contractual thing where they have to use him so much to get their money's worth out of him. There's some sort of agreement. I'm guessing it's a contractual and financial thing. That's my only, either that or they really like writing Flip. I don't know.
Yeah, that's so true.
But going back to the main
Okay.
point, I'd say
Hmm.
if we were to bring a few other characters up, I mean, we've already mentioned the episode L is for Love. Now, some of those characters, like Benny and Sam and all that, did stick around. Some of the others, like Skippy, for example, never really appeared again. Now, I will say this season 8 is quite interesting. How many of the recent season 8 episodes have you watched? Just so I'm not giving you any too many spoilers, or do you not mind?
Mm, I will be very honest with you. Right now, do is I mean, sometime with work, commission, and everything, I haven't seen many episodes. But trust me, I really don't mind spoilers. Go
Okay,
ahead.
well, here's the thing. In season 8, we get a couple of comebacks from Darcy, who was obviously a character introduced in season two's Friend or Forks, and has appeared again a couple of times, but in season 8 they finally gave her another major role in the episode where they have in Todd Nito, if you've seen that one, where Lisa has Todd in like pretend to be her at
Oh,
Darcy's party. So they actually finally gave Darcy another big role after 6 seasons on the show. um,
yeah,
and she did also appear in the Halloween special for a minute or two, so they have done a bit more with her recently. And on top of that, going back to Ellis for Love, Winston had a decent role in one episode where Lola works at the school newspaper. And they also gave David a cameo in a recent Lisa episode. So they do seem, some of these old characters do seem to be slowly making a bit of a comeback. And that could be a hopeful sign for season 9 and onward.
yeah. I mean, Darcy is literally the Lisa's best friend, right?
Yeah, well, unless you count Todd.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God, Todd,
I mean,
please
Todd,
don't get
I
me
actually
started.
do kind of like Todd, don't get me wrong. Like Flip and
No,
Scoots
no.
is a bit overused, but he is a fun character, I will say. I don't mind the fact he's a robot. At this point, the show does demigod storylines and dragons and science and magic and everything. At this point, who really cares, right? I mean, Todd's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. I mean, I don't mind Todd. Trust me. I mean, it's a nice character. But
Yeah,
come on, almost every episode. I mean, I
yeah.
think in season 6 he appeared almost in every episode. Come on.
Possibly, yeah. Like I said, certain characters are overused, and obviously, as the
I,
point of this video, many characters
I
are
mean,
underused. But that's
I
something,
mean,
yeah.
yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, it was even kind of funny that in one episode where the family is very upset because people criticize. I
The
don't know this
taunting
word.
hour,
Uh, yeah, that's what.
yeah,
Yeah, the town. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, even one scientist said, "Oh, come on, it's that again."
yeah. I don't know. I guess, yeah. I mean, I don't mind with Todd anywhere near as much as Flip. So there you go. But
Yeah, I mean, even the stuff in the show
yeah.
admitted
But
that
yes,
Todd appears very much,
yeah,
too
I
much.
will agree that they could do more with Darcy, and it looks like they may slowly be starting to get that. So we are getting more of her, so that's good, and we're getting a bit more of certain other characters. If we are going to bring up other characters, I mean, there's so many you could talk about. We haven't even
Yeah,
covered all of them. I mean, but there's a lot of them. The Loud House has been around for a very long time now. I mean, Save Royal Woods was 2, 3 seasons ago, and that already like had so many characters make cameos. It's like this world is very expansive. It's very highly developed. There's a lot to it when you actually think about it. I mean, that
yeah,
you know that because again, you and Roy are able to derive so much content from that with such an expansive world and cast of characters. I mean, I think that is something about the show that doesn't get enough credit. It has built a solid world for itself, really, at this point.
yeah. That's true. You know, I really I almost forgot her, but there is one character that I at least to, as you said, to do some drama, I like to return, and I see not many people remember her anymore. Is Christina?
Oh, her, yeah, she had like a cameo in season 1, though, didn't she? I mean, Christina at this point, I think, in the context of how the show's gone, is like almost so irrelevant at this point. Yeah, I think the writers have really forgotten about her at this stage. I don't think
She
she's
was
ever
literally
coming back.
Lincoln Fierce crush, but I mean,
Well, yeah,
they could use the fact that she was Lincoln's fierce crush.
maybe. Although, did that episode happen before or after Heavy Metal? I'm not sure.
I think
Because that
after,
also had him sort of have a crush on Ronnie Ann at the end, I suppose. I don't. Could you say that's his first? I don't know.
no,
In fact,
I
let
don't
me just
really
look this
remember.
up. Season one. Season one. It's so long ago now. Um, which episode was
Yeah,
first? Was it
it's
making the
been a
case? Making the case, or was it? Oh no, Heavy Metal was episode 3, production order 2A. Making the Case was episode 4, production order 2B. So Ronnie Ann was before Christina. So you could argue Ronnie Ann was his first crush, sort of.
oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so I think at this point, Christina didn't really have any sort of character to her anyway, so I don't think is anyone really crying that much to see her come back? I don't know. Remember how many people love Maggie? And it's like, she's one of those
Yeah.
characters, it's like, there's not really anything to her. She's just a less interesting Lucy. But for some reason, the internet exploded over her, and I'm like, okay. I mean, she's alright, but, I'm not exactly dying
Yeah.
to see her come back at this point. I don't think she ever will anyway. She was clearly just a one-off. But there are a lot of these
No.
characters that we have mentioned that could absolutely do more in the show. And that's not even going into the fact that the Casa Grandes has now ended, and you could do more with a lot of the members of the Casa Grandes cast. But
I mean,
apparently, the
see.
one they want to bring back is fucking Sergio.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah,
for
what was
sure.
it? Party Foul. It's like all the Casa Grandes characters you're going to bring back. This is the C grade Yargo's the one you really want, honestly.
Yeah. Oh.
Like you could do a lot more with Ronnie Ann, Sid, Adelaide, Carl, Becky. Ronnie Ann's friend group, Maria. You could even bring back Punguari from the movie. Why not? A lot of people love her. There's a lot more you could do with that cast as well. Yeah.
I love to see an episode when they try to hide Pungwari's being a goddess, you know?
Yeah, a lot of people have
They,
said there could be an episode where she visits like Great Lake City and meets Ronnie Ann's friend group and maybe even meets Lincoln and hangs around there. And one idea I had, which I had you draw, was she doing wrestling with him in the park, and then Becky gets involved, and
oh,
that could be a quite funny part of this episode if that ever were to happen.
yeah, I mean, in reality, that will kill her, you know?
Well, no, the
I
idea
mean,
is that Pungwari would turn off her powers, so she'd just be fighting as a normal girl in that scene. Otherwise, it just wouldn't be fair.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Although,
yeah,
just to clarify, those are Amazing Pino's ideas. I mean,
yeah,
I'm just the artist, you know, but
yeah.
all the ideas are credits to
Oh yeah,
Amazing
yeah,
Pino.
yeah, yeah. Roy would, yeah, he'd come up with the ideas and you draw them. Yeah, same as what I do with you, I suppose. Same as what a few other people do with you. But yeah, but it's one of those, isn't it? Like there's so much you could do with so many characters in this show, and you're like,
You think that in ninth season they will come back, at least Ronnie Ann and her family?
yeah, you'd at least think they're going to have Ronnie Ann come back a couple of times, surely at the bare minimum. But I don't know. Like there are a lot of things that we'd love to see, like between the two sets of casts. Like we still love to see. I don't know what the episode will be about. There's plenty of things you could do with it. Lola, Lana, Adelaide, Carl. Put those four together, see what happens. Everyone would love
Well,
that
yeah. Why they never did it at least once? I don't understand that.
because they really have a hard on for Flip.
Yeah, that's a good one.
No, I don't know. I
Yeah,
mean, there's a lot more I wish the show would do, and I don't think it will. That's not a slate at the show. The show is very overhated. I will say that.
yeah.
It's still a very good series, and it has a lot of great episodes, and the people working on it are talented. And a lot of people say, oh, only
Yeah.
Chris Savino understood the show. No, Chris Savino was a
No.
talentless hack, and he was a sick person. You don't need him. I do think part of the problem is the fact that a lot of the writers they're very talented and very hardworking, but they don't necessarily understand what their audience wants. And part of the reason is because a lot of people in our fandom are hostile. And, let's face it. And also the Chris Savino scandal didn't help. That also made them distance themselves as well. So between Chris Savino and the fans being hostile, it's hard to get in. I have spoken to the writers here and there very briefly, but it's hard to really get a good talk with them. And I think that's part of the problem because they're so distanced from their own audience. I don't think they really understand what people want to see from this show. It's not a slate on them. It's just, an observation from years of watching this series and observing everything around it. And I do believe there's so much more potential this show has. I honestly believe it could be one of the greats of animation. People talk about the greatest cartoons of all time. And you'll often hear things like classic Simpsons, Avatar, Gravity Falls, Tom and Jerry, Looney Tunes, DCAU, Batman the Animated Series, Justice League. You might get something like Adventure Time thrown in there, or The Owl House, or whatever. The Loud House isn't even in the conversation. It's nowhere near. Most people hate this show and its fan base. It's really disappointing, actually. And it's why I really hope for a reboot one day, one where these ideas we're talking about, this world, all its characters, all the right stuff can be focused on, all the right storylines can be executed, all the right combinations of characters can be utilised in the right way, and this show can finally reach its full potential. And I believe it has the potential to be as good as all those shows, maybe even better. It's got so much more. The Loud House can do so much more. I think we could all agree on that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I really believe that. I mean, many people, many people may hate the show, but they have to admit it. At least this is what I believe. After SpongeBob, The Loud House is the best. I
The
don't know.
biggest
To be
show,
honest,
the biggest show.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But here's
the
the
biggest
thing:
show. And to
Nickelodeon
be
doesn't.
honest,
Yeah,
I
Nickelodeon
hate
doesn't
the
care
current SpongeBob.
anything about any other franchise rather than SpongeBob. They don't even care about the
Yeah,
Loud House. It's it's sad, really. Nickelodeon. I
that
don't
was.
know if they're the best people to do it.
I don't. I know this is not anything to do with the main topic, but
Yeah,
that's what happened to Danny Phantom. Danny
yeah,
Phantom was good, had good rating, but it wasn't SpongeBob. And what
yeah,
happened? Cancelled.
yeah. I mean, the Loud House
That,
hasn't been cancelled, but it's like I still feel like I don't see the show doing that much of what we all want to see it do. I can't see that changing, if I'm honest. I think the current team, they're very good, but they're set in their own ways, and I think they're just going to continue doing the same stuff that they're doing. I think realistically, the show one day it will be rebooted regardless. It may have not reached the heights we wanted it to, but it's still been a moderately successful show enough to the point that they'll want to do a spin-off or reboot or something in the future. And the way I see it is this: if there is going to be a reboot of the show one day, many years from now, who better ought to run it? A bunch of corrupt corporate executives who are only bringing it back to make a quick bit of money, like the people who did the Powerpuff Girls reboot, or those like myself who really understand the franchise and have a brilliant story to tell out of it.
I really pray for the second one.
Precisely. And that, I think, is exactly where topics like this, that's where we can summarise things, because what is this topic? We're bringing it back to what we were originally talking about, characters who haven't been used. And we could do another one, another topic, another podcast about episode ideas that were underutilized or didn't happen, like you suggested. Um, that can be another topic for another video. But we're
Yeah,
bringing it back to the original point. What does this situation of having so many wasted characters reflect on? It reflects on the notion that The Loud House is a very good show, but it could do a lot more and it could do a lot different. And in my opinion, it could do a lot better. As good as it is, as much as I like it, it could be even better. And that
yeah.
is all I've ever tried to get across to people. Um, and people could call me an arrogant sack of shit, and I probably am. But I think after all my years of closely studying this franchise, writing for it myself, even creating professional spec scripts for it, have I not demonstrated the ability to do that myself?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you very well. That
Yeah,
last
so
one.
basically I'm saying, do I not have the ability to do it? I think I do, yeah.
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, I really think many people had that ability.
Yeah.
Remember, I mean, you know, there are people like you, like the that really love the show, and and they can do so much better. They know that. Oh, come on, we have this episode. Okay, let's do a new character. No, no, no. You can. What other people can say? No, no, no. We already have this character. Why don't we use this one? Why
Oh,
we have to
yeah.
create a new one? You know?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
there, and maybe
because
that's another thing.
you know
Maybe
why?
it's
But you know why?
continuity.
I'm sorry.
Maybe
Can I say
it's a
something? I'm sorry.
continuity issue because, like I said, in a lot of the early seasons, especially, the show didn't really regard continuity. They'd bring in certain characters and ideas and forget about them. And maybe that's the thing. Maybe an incarnation of the show with a greater sense of continuity from the get go is what is needed, because then you could have these characters and not forget about them. You could use them again when it's relevant to a plot. And maybe that could work better. You'd get less waste, if that makes sense.
Yeah. One question. Do you really think they literally forget the characters? I mean, they forget they exist?
I don't know. It's either maybe they literally forget about them sometimes. And to be fair, some of the writers are different now, so they might not even think about the early seasons that much. But it could just also be the fact that they think, nah, they were a good one-shot character. We're not interested in them. We'll do something new, do something different. Either scenario could be the truth.
Because I don't know if you saw this. Did you ever watch Dragon Ball?
Dragon Ball, I've seen some of it over the years. I'm aware of
Yeah,
Dragon Ball.
yeah.
I
You
know
know what character was literally forgotten in that? In that
Lunch
even
slash Launch from the original Dragon
Launch.
Ball.
Yeah, Toriyama literally forgot about
Yeah,
Launch.
I know of that character. She was in the original and never appeared in Z. Yeah, to be yeah, I mean Dragon Ball. I'm just going to say this now. Dragon Ball is one of those shows. It's so bad, it's good. It's fun. It's engaging. It's action packed. It has a lot of spectacle. If you actually look at the writing and the story and the character work, it's kind of
Yeah,
a
yeah,
mess in a fun way, but it's kind of a mess. A lot of it doesn't make any
yeah.
sense.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. For and this is a personal opinion. For me, the best of Dragon Ball is precisely Dragon Ball, not Dragon Ball Z. I mean Dragon Ball with Goku
The
and Frieza.
original's Dragon Ball. The original Dragon Ball was meant to be a bit more comedic and light-hearted, wasn't it? Until the King Piccolo saga, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean because I mean in that even every character has a meaning. Every character was good.
Yeah.
Now in Dragon Ball Z and Super, only the science are
Well, yeah.
good.
I
You know.
mean, it's mostly Goku, Vegeta, and the new God characters, and a lot of them. I mean, they're still in it, but characters like I don't know Krillin, Tien, Yamcha, Master Roshi, even Gohan and Piccolo to an extent at 18 and all that. They're in it. They're there, but they
Yeah.
don't do much. They don't do anything. You know, they might as well just be props. You know.
Yeah, and that's what I think about many loud
Yeah.
characters. You
Well,
know,
to be fair, the
because
Loud House has a bit more of an excuse because in terms of its main and recurring cast, I actually think it has a much bigger cast, in despite not being around for anywhere near as long. But yeah, I can understand the comparisons, but I think a lot of shows, especially ones that go on for a long time, will have a lot of forgotten characters. Like, look at The Simpsons. How many one shots in The Simpsons could they have done more with? Jessica Lovejoy, anyone?
yeah, that's true.
But there you go. But anyway,
Yeah,
we're
it's really sad. You know, it's
yeah,
really
but
really
anyway,
sad.
I think we've made our point. You know, Loud House is very good, but it has some problems, and forgotten characters or underused characters is certainly one of them. I understand it. I understand some of the logistics sometimes behind moving on from certain characters, but it is still kind of sad to see waste. Um, and that is a true statement. But yeah, we're going on a bit, and I know you've got to get off soon, Alejindio. So I think we'll wrap it up there. Any final points you want to make before we end this?
Yeah, I mean, to, I really believe, as you said, that the Loud House still has a very so much potential. You know, I
Yeah,
really hope to see in season 9 some characters returning. Maybe Rocky. I mean, come on, bring Rocky back at least
yeah.
one. I mean, you know why I say that? Because I really don't believe that the producers don't know how much the fans wants to see Rocky again. You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
I
they at least can say,
yeah.
okay, let's give
Well,
them
one thing
Rocky
I
at least
will
in one
mention
episode.
before I end
Uh-huh.
this. One thing
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
mention before I end this. I did
Okay.
do a post not too long ago,
Hmm?
where I said I did. Do you remember? I might have showed you this, where I did listed 10 things that the show does really well, and then 10 things that the show could improve on. And I think one of the things I mentioned on that second post, the things it could improve on, is certain characters have been underused or forgotten about, and they could do more with them. I'll just find the post now if I can. It was a few months ago. I think you might have seen. I might have showed you this. Do you remember me showing it you?
No, to be honest,
Well,
no. Sorry.
one of them was the underexposed characters, and I sort of mentioned a lot of characters that they could do more with. Characters like Rocky, Cricket, Melly, Nina, China, Jackie, Claudette, Darcy, David,
Yeah.
Carol Pingree, the Miller family, and so on. There are so many characters, plus all the Casa Grande's cast, like the Changs and everything. There's so much more you could do with so many other characters. And I did sort of mention this in that post. And I actually did get Whitney Wetter to read it.
Okay. Yeah. I
So
will.
she has, at least one of the show's writers is aware of this because I have directly pointed it out to her. And she even liked the post. So she at least agrees with some of what I said in it. So you never know. We could get more in season 9. I'll let you know
Let's
if it
hope for the
happens.
best.
Yeah.
I really think. See, oh my God! If you want to, I really see. To be honest, I really have a lot of faith in season 9.
Season 9,
You know?
it's one of those. I think some of the episodes could be good. I'm not going to lie, my enthusiasm for the show isn't as strong as it once was.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm going to try and give it a chance. I think it's only fair. Maybe we could finally see an upturn in a lot of ways, with characters being utilised better being one of them. You never know. We'll have to see what happens. But
They they just need
I'm
to
gonna
do
give
more.
season 9 a chance.
Yeah, I mean, they just need to do more episodes, like Lisa with Darcy,
Yeah,
Lola with what was that name again? The
Lola
Lola's crush.
Lola's crush Winston.
Yeah, Lola with Winston. I don't know. Maybe a return of Polly Payne, Tabby. Maybe I don't know.
They could. I mean, we'll have to see what happens. Some of those characters, like I said, I think the show is basically just written off. But you never know. We did get a return of like Winston after 6 seasons, and David. So it could happen. I'm not going to say it won't, and it might be an interesting result if it does happen. But we'll just have to see how this all plays out. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all we've got to say. I'll let you get off because I know you've got to be somewhere. It was very fun having you on this podcast, Alejindio. And I look forward to doing more good artwork with you in the future. I'm sure I will. Yeah, thanks for being here.
No, thank you very much. I'm really appreciate it. Sorry if I went off of the topic
No,
sometimes
we do
again.
that all the time here. Don't worry. I did it as well. We always go on tangents in this. Don't worry. Yeah,
No, thank you very
and
much. And
also good work on getting a better quality microphone this time.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you know what? After we finished our last podcast, when you sent me the link to listen to it, I did, and I said, "Oh my God, oh my God, I'm
I
so
think I
good."
mentioned it. I think even Roy mentioned it in the comments on DeviantArt.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. I said, "Oh my God, that's me." Oh, come on, no.
yeah.
The next week I went straight to the store and bought this
Yeah,
microphone.
yeah. All right. Anyway, it's been good having you. Very good talk. I'll get this up soon. And everyone listening to this, who are your favourite characters that haven't been utilised? Who would you like to see come back and for the show to do more with in the future? Let us know in the comment section below. And thanks for listening. And I'll see you all next time. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to
I
all of you.
probably would have not uploaded this until after Christmas. I don't know. I might do it before. We'll see. Yeah, obviously these podcasts aren't live, everyone. But yeah, I'll see you guys whenever.